Once upon a time, there lived a man called Odini and his wife, known as Okelue. They had two daughters who were identical twins. They were called Ngozi and Ngozika, respectively. The senior of the two girls was Ngozi, and the younger one was Ngozika. They were the only children of their parents. One day, while discussing with his wife, Odini realized that his children were growing up fast and they will need to go to the traditional diviner's home to find out about the children's destiny. This was to enable them guide the children properly towards their destiny in life, towards their destination in life. He looked at the girls and as they were all chatting in the living room, smiled happily. He was proud of them because they were disciplined and well-mannered. They were also hardworking and were always busy learning their mother's trade, the art of weaving clothes. This earned them the title of Omenka, meaning great designers. They were sorted after by great personalities in the kingdom and other neighboring villages. Their names rang bells of recognition wherever mentioned. And so, his two daughters were his pride. As was the tradition of the people, when a child was becoming of age, the diviner always, through the divination, to predict the child's future life path. So, Odini and his wife, Okelue, thought of going to find out things about their children before they will establish them in the weaving trade business. A month later, the family of four went to Okaka's house to throw the oracle. As they were getting closer to the diviner's house, they could hear him shouting, "Welcome, Odini and family. Welcome, Odini and family." Okaka was greeting them as they were entering his compound. "You've come to find out about your children's destiny, isn't it?" he asked, shaking his head. Odini laughed. He had heard much about Okaka that he could tell why someone was coming to see him from a distance. "Yes, great one," he replied, bending down to greet the elderly man in respect. Okaka welcomed all of them and ushered them into his house. He brought out kola nut and the local gin as welcoming gesture towards his guests, as tradition demanded. It was shared among them appropriately, and they all sat down quietly as they chewed the kola nut and drank the wine. That is the local gin. Okaka threw the divination, and while they were all waiting patiently for him to tell them what he had seen, Odini now turned to his wife in acknowledgement, smiling. Then the diviner said, "Odini, your two daughters are beautiful and hardworking, and any man with his right senses will want and be lucky enough to marry your daughters," he said to Odini. Odini and his wife Okelue nodded their heads in acknowledgement, and the man continued. "The senior child, your senior daughter, the senior one will marry a very rich man and will be very wealthy in her life. But self-control will be needed to achieve this," he said to them. He said, responded Odini and Okwelum happily, while Ngozi and Ngozika looked on silently, wondering how the old man could possibly see the future with an ordinary string of objects. The girls' attention were brought back at the mention of Ngozika's name. "Your younger daughter, Ngozika, on the other hand, will be poor, and she will marry a poor man and they will start life with one spoon, he prophesied. What? Exclaimed Ngozika within her. That can never be, she muttered silently. My creator is alive and not asleep, so I will never be poor in my life. She countered it within her. When Okaka finished his prophecies, the family paid him and went back home. Their parents were happy for Ngozi's predictions, but sad at what they had been told about Ngozika's future. They were told that Ngozika would be poor, but with her own determination, things might change. How can she be poor? Their daughter, they've suffered to train in the trade of weaving and moral aspects of life. They went on to establish the business of clothing, that is the weaving of clothes for Ngozi, and were about to open another for Ngozika when Ngozika told them not to bother. Since it had been predicted that she would be poor, she will not make it, they should hold their money. Then later she now said, Papa, Mama, she said, looking at their sad faces, don't feel sad about my issue because I know I will make it somehow in my life. Don't bother to open the cloth weaving business for me. Do you understand me? Give me the money and I'll see what I can do with the money myself. The unsure parents did not know what to say or do, but they had faith in the proper upbringing of their daughters and so gave her the money they would have used to open the cloth weaving business for her. Take my daughter, her mother said, handing over the money to her. A year passed by and the twins turned 18 years. Ngozi's cloth business had by now started waxing stronger, while Ngozika had not started any business yet. She was always going to the farm. She had chosen to farm. She would go as early as 5 in the morning and return home at about 5 o'clock in the evening. This she did almost every day except on the days. And on that day, she did all the cleaning and housework at home. Her parents became very worried. Ngosika, her father said to her one night, while they were relaxing in the sitting room, your constant stay at the farm from morning till almost night, at this your age, is a thing of worry to your mother and I, my dear. Oh, don't worry, Papa, replied Ngozika. Everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Ngozi's business was booming, so much that her parents were proud of her. Young men started coming to seek her hand in marriage. Their parents were happy, but Ngozi was thinking something else. She was checking the men to choose the right one that had been predicted by Okaka the diviner. Okaka had foreseen a rich husband for her, so she was not ready to go for the less privileged ones coming. So she thought within her, I will wait for the rich ones that will come, not all these poverty-stricken people that I'm seeing now. Ngozika, on her part, tied up the money her parents had given her and hid it somewhere in the house. She organized her age mates and went to the farm to clear a very large portion of land. She planted yams. She looked for yam seedlings from her friends. They donated yam seedlings to her. All of them contributed yam seedlings and gave it to Ngozika, which was planted in the large area of land. Her parents were traders and not great farmers. So having a beautiful young girl like that, like Ngozika, trying to enter into such farming something was very, very motivating. It moved the girls to say, okay, they want to help her to arrive at whatever she was planning to do. They really helped her. After the planting, the yams started to grow very well. And within 9 months, they could not believe the outcome of their handwork. A young man called Anozie came forward to the Ordini's house to seek for a wife. He went with some elders of his family. When he got there with his people, he expressed his feelings towards Odini's children and said he was interested in marrying one of them. Odini was happy to see such a responsible family come. From their dressings, he knew that they were not well off. But being that they've arrived with drinks and whatever, he called his two daughters. The twins were called out and presented to the young suitors. They were told the intentions of Anozie. Ngozi and Ngozika were beautiful and they looked alike. Anozie was looking at them, trying to see if he could make out a difference at least between them. Kola nut was presented and shared, welcoming the visitors. After Odini had told his daughters the intention of Anozie, Ngozi, the senior daughter, stood up and then looked at the visitors and told the father that she was coming. She went outside to look if they had brought anything tangible that would show that they were rich people. But she could not see anything. She came back and looked at all the visitors sitting down. She sized them up and saw that these people, she drew conclusion that they were wretched people. They were not wealthy people. So she now came back and sat down where she was and made up her mind that she was not going to marry the Anozie. He was handsome, quite all right, but handsomeness without money in today's world is meaningless, she said within her, and moved over to, you know, start thinking about what Okaka had said. As predicted that she will marry a rich man, so he might as well pass over. She'll go to Ngozika if she's interested and not herself, she concluded. Anozie was the prince of Enodi and heir apparent to the throne. He had disguised as an ordinary citizen of Enugu Kingdom so that he could find love and a better match. He liked both girls because they were beautiful and hardworking. But for him, he needed a loving wife with a lovable personality also. Ngozi, the senior child, got up and said, Papa, I think you should go for Ngozika. I'm not interested in the marriage. Her father was surprised. She was the senior of the two children and was supposed to be the first to get married before the younger one. But he had noticed recently that Ngozi was always rejecting the suitors, feeling that they were poor. He just believed because his wife had already drawn his attention to it. And they concluded that it must be the prediction of Okaka the diviner that was making her to be selective. The visitors were surprised at her ways, and Anozie could do nothing more than to settle for the second twin sister if she was willing to accept him. He had thought of choosing the senior one, but before he came, he had begged his personal God to guide him and give him the right one out of the two girls before leaving home. So he was not surprised when it was happening because he felt that his personal God was going to choose for him, not himself. Ngozika was not surprised at her sister's behavior. Her sister had left him for her on seeing his dressing. She thought, smiling, well, if this is the right man for me, as the Creator wills, I will accept, she said within her. So the discussion on the marriage continued until it was agreed that Anozie would settle with Ngozika, the younger twin. A date was fixed for the marriage, and it was going to take place a month from that day. When they left, Odini and his wife called their daughters and talked to them seriously. They were not happy at the way Ngozi was rejecting suitors. He warned her and said that before the date of Ngozika's marriage, she must choose someone from all the men that had been coming for her hand in marriage because he will be giving the two girls out in marriage the same day. Ngozi was worried at the statement of her father, but she kept quiet. A week later, Ngozi's friend, Amma, she was very close to Ngozi, came to her and told her that her relative in the big city was coming home to seek for a bride and she would like him to marry Ngozi. She told Ngozi that her brother was very rich. He owned a company and drove big cars. Ngozi fell for it. He fell for it. And young, handsome, and rich man, that must be the one the diviner has seen in his prediction. So she was thinking within her and agreed. When the young man came, he was handsome and well dressed, sparkling like the city guys. The family met with Odini family, and right away Ngozi agreed without a backward glance. The marriage was then fixed to take place the same day with that of Ngozika. While business continued as usual for Ngozi, Ngozika went on with her farm and friends to supervise what they had planted. She decided to sell the products so that she could raise money to support her to-be husband Anozie, because from his look, she was sure he may not have enough money to do everything that the family will ask for. Moreover, she will need some money after marriage to start up something wherever she goes to live with her husband. She did not want, she never allow herself to be poor, and she will never allow herself to be poor. I reject the prophecy in my life. I'll be rich and comfortable in life, she prayed within her. The day of the marriage came, and people from far and near attended the marriage of the beautiful twins. Ngozi's husband to be, Onyibe, arrived with his family and friends from the city. There were cars all over the place, of which it was not easy to see such in the village. Ngozika's husband and family arrived in a way that shocked everyone present. The king of Enodi Kingdom, the Royal Highness Enodi III of Enodi Kingdom, was on his way to the marriage. Odini and his wife were at a loss as to what was bringing the king to their marriage, because he was a great man as far as his kingdom was concerned, and they had not invited him in the first place. It was when they arrived with their entourage that they got to know that Anozie was a prince and heir apparent to the throne of Enodi Kingdom. They were all shocked. Ngozi was surprised. Ngozika was also surprised. The marriage was done according to the laws of the land, and the twin sisters were escorted to their husbands' homes. Anozie's father handed over the rulership of the kingdom to him, and he became the new king, while Ngozika became the queen of the kingdom. Ngozi found out that her husband, Onyibe, was a driver in the company he worked for in the city, living in a one-room apartment in the slum area of the city. He was not rich at all, but was managing his life with the mega monthly salary he received. People everywhere in his village were thinking that since he was in the city driving a car, it belonged to him. They didn't know he was driving the personnel in the company, that he was a driver. Ngozi was regretting not to have married Anozie, because the marriage had been offered to her in a platter of gold, being the senior. But she had rejected it all with her own mouth. All that glitters is not gold, she concluded. She was the one now taking care of the whole family of the Onyibe, because her husband's salary was not enough for them. She will sit down and be crying at the misfortune she has lost due to her mouth and thinking. The prophecy had blinded her judgment, and of course, it would have come to pass, because Anozie was a rich man actually that came for her, but her judgment had given her the contrary. Ngozika, on her part, had been constantly rejecting the bad luck prophesied and embracing positivity, and she actually got what she wanted. She gave the money her parents had given to her back to them to take care of themselves. My people, your destiny is in your hands. Whatever good you wish yourself, the universe, your creator, and all the forces of light will surely make it come true for you. That's the power of positive thinking. Subscribe, like, and share the video. Thanks for watching.